It's time for Baby Boomers in Action. Here's your host, Jim McWhorter.
All right, it's time for Baby Boomers in Action, and you already know it's time because she just said that before this clicked on. But more importantly, we're glad you're here, and I hope that you are prepared to kick back, relax in your favorite recliner with your glass of iced tea or whatever, and pay close attention because especially for our baby boomer viewers and that view regularly, and even if you aren't regular, you're going to be after today's show because we cover so many topics that are important to people who are 50 years old and up. And we have a lot of viewers in that age bracket. Show's titled Baby Boomers in Action, and so we're going to have a special guest again today. We've been covering things like what is hospice and home health and different things that we are faced with sometimes with our aging parents. And so today we have another one of those topics. And so first I want to start off and have us think about some of the things that come up with our elderly parents that are sometimes uncomfortable conversations. For example, money. I have so many viewers over the years talk about they don't have any idea what the financial situation of their parents. And we've covered this before in the past, and we'll cover it again to refresh people. But there's topics like talking about money, talking about not living at home alone anymore is a big one. But there's so many sensitive things, and today is another highly sensitive topic that we have to have conversations many times with our loved ones as they age. And there'll probably be topics that they'll be talking to us about to us too. And got a little tongue twisted, but anyway, the important thing here is what we want to talk about is when it's time to discuss quit driving. And so I have a special guest who specializes in talking to people. She has been on Baby Boomers in Action before. This is Beth Patterson, the Executive Director of RSVP. Welcome, Beth. We're so glad you're with us again.
Thank you,
And so maybe I won't get tongue twisted again, but I don't even know where that phrase came from because I was just blurting. I wasn't twisting. But anyway, we'll use the phrase anyway. So more importantly, this is a sensitive topic, isn't it?
It's a very sensitive topic. And I think people have to realize when you're looking at giving up your keys, retiring your keys, you're not just giving up transportation.
Right.
You're giving up your independence. And that's why it's so important to find other options for transportation so that you don't give up your independence and you're not isolated from things that you want to do.
That's right. And you know, I've been thinking a lot about this. I was at our long-term care facility advisory board meeting recently, and I even mentioned in the meeting one of the things we were talking about. But one of the things that's really concerned me is people, 50% of our adult age generation, they live at home alone.
Right.
And so they have to combat at some point depression and all of those things. Well, if depression is not treated, it can result in some bad things, and with some people it ends up with suicide.
That is true.
Because they are have totally isolated themselves, and they may still be even able to drive,
right,
but they have just cut off everything of what they were normally used to. And what alarms me is that when you compare Oklahoma's suicide rate, and this starts in age brackets from 40 years and up, we have a higher suicide rate in Oklahoma than the national average in every one of those age brackets. And the 85 and up age bracket, which is the group we're going to be talking about today, primarily, is double what the national average is. And that's alarming to me. And so let's get into this because it is, as we mentioned, we know it's a sensitive topic, and what we want to do is try to share with our guests some things to help them in having that conversation.
Absolutely, Jim. And I think what you said a little bit earlier, it is so true. You don't just have one conversation about transportation. This is something that should be discussed way before the need. And get the input from your parents.
Sure.
It's so important to realize that this is a very sensitive issue. You made that very clear. I think oftentimes too, families think that if they get together as a group and they visit with mom or dad, they can visit comfortably about that. That is not the best avenue. You need to find one person to address the issue so that they can start thinking about it and giving ideas. And it might even be that your older parent has actually given thought to making restrictions on themselves.
Well,
maybe they don't drive at night. Maybe they only drive to familiar places, the grocery store, your church, that type of thing, and they don't go across town. So a lot of our seniors, they recognize that they're having trouble driving and are already doing things to remove themselves from things that are not safe. But sometimes family does have to step in and help mom or dad or a relative realize that not only are they unsafe to themselves, but they're unsafe to other people on the road. And then that's a conversation that has to become much more in-depth and thorough, and decisions have to be made.
Sure. And you raised a good point, because I even notice with people that live at Wellington Park in our, it's a retirement community with independent living to assisted living to Alzheimer's and dementia care, but people are still driving in the assisted living unit because they do have that freedom of choice. But I do notice when people say, well, I realized I don't like to drive at night anymore. And so they, like you say, many people will start putting restrictions on themselves. And so one of the points that you have in the notes that I had on suggestions is be sure and have this conversation early. And don't wait. Make sure there's some preparation to go. And so very important. One of the things that I think, one of the first things that has to happen is to determine who's going to have the conversation.
Exactly.
And so share with us your thoughts about who is the best to do that with.
Well, first of all, it needs to be somebody who can speak softly, someone who does not feel the need to confront that loved person. It has to be someone that that person trusts. Sometimes it's not even a family member. Sometimes it has to be a friend or your doctor, or sometimes we're too close and our parents don't want to hear what we have to say. But if they're willing to listen to the ideas of someone else, then it's okay to pull in that other person and pull them into the conversation.
Sure. Well, and I know that I've recommended in the past with people that have so much concern about trying to learn more about the financial situation of their parents, and they have no clue, and they're trying to figure out, well, how do I talk to them about this and find out, because I need to be preparing. What am I going to need to do to help them as their bodies mature and they age and need some assistance maybe and different things like that. And so when it comes to the financial part, I've always recommended you've got to be sure that you have somebody there with you that they trust. Maybe you shouldn't do it alone. And with some people, they trust their minister totally. If they're very active and involved in their church and their spirituality and all that, sometimes that's a good option. Sometimes it's an attorney that they've used for years, or a CPA or somebody that can help back you up of the importance of all of that. But like you say, it's time to be gentle and calm, and because when you start going in on any of these conversations and start telling them what to do, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to get defensive, and they're going to shut down, and you're talking to the wall the rest of the time. So, but what else do you think is important about this conversation?
Well, the word that we use in the office is that we encourage people to take baby steps. So when you're going to prepare to have that conversation, and you're going to bring in the right person to visit with them. But don't dump everything. First of all, find out what their opinions are. they may have some ideas on where they're already restricting themselves.
Sure.
And then if you're aware of some situations that are dangerous, maybe there's been more fender benders, maybe they got lost running errands that they never used to get lost at. And you know, with all of our construction and everything, that can happen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that can happen anyway. But maybe they're getting more tickets, or maybe there's confusion, maybe eyesight problems or medical problems. But all of those things can gently be discussed and give the older adult an opportunity to share his or her thoughts on those challenges that they're experiencing.
Right. And that's very important to consider. Great information, Beth. We're going to take a break now, and we'll be back with Beth Patterson and continue talking about this sensitive subject. You know, there can be a lot of confusion, a lot of anxiety when it comes to the end of our lives. And that's why when people ask me, Jim, who would you recommend for a good hospice company? I only have to think of one word, and that's Kindful. Kindful Hospice and my friend Jessica Garvin are my #1 choice.
Thanks, Jim. At Kindful Hospice, we believe that clinical care at the end of life is just as important as clinical care at the beginning of life. Visit kindfulhospice.com for more information.
Wellington Park, a great place to live. Yes, it's your friend Buddy again, and I love being here. I get to greet people. I attend planning meetings. I answer my emails. We even take care of your medications, so you can live worry-free. We also go shopping. And I love it when we play bingo. B12, D2, wait, this sounds more like taking vitamins.
Stay active, stay healthy, stay happy. Join us at Wellington Park. Okay, we're back, and I have Beth Patterson with me from RSVP, and we are talking about the subject of how to have the conversation with your elder parents about when it's time not to drive anymore. And we're not talking about anything to be mean or anything else. It's just, and that different people at different ages shouldn't be driving. And it's about their safety. It's about people they're driving with on the streets, their safety too. And so, you know, there's one of the things that you have in your points is sometimes it's best to make sure you're prepared when you have the conversation to list the reasons why you're having the conversation.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent idea. There are resources out there that can really help people feel more comfortable with this. It's not as frightening as you think. As you pointed out, many seniors have already given some thought to making some changes in their driving abilities, you know, their driving schedule. The hardest part is starting the conversation.
Yes.
And if you would just start the conversation and then sit back and be quiet and listen to what's going on, and make sure that you're sensitive to their feelings, because this is, it's a grief process, right, Jim?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, giving up your car keys or your vehicle is
like losing a loved one.
Exactly.
I mean, people maybe been driving 60, 70 years.
Exactly.
And
then you realize you have to, you know that you're going to have to depend on other resources to go where you need to go. So the family needs to help pull that together. Matter of fact, I talked to one of our volunteers, Lily, just the other day, and she shared with me that she realized that she should probably stop driving, but she didn't because of the independence. And then her family came to her and said, Mom, you know that last little wreck you had where you hit the garage? Let's talk about this. You have taken care of us your whole life.
Right.
You're us, the kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids. Let us help you.
Right.
Please give up your car keys. Let us take you where you need to go, and let's find you other resources.
Right.
So now Lily uses us for her medical rides through Provide a Ride, and then her family and other resources, her church and her friends. Yes, you have to plan a little bit more in advance, but she's as active as she's ever been. She said she has not missed not one thing since last October. It's been a whole year.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That is great. And that's a good way to say that too. And I have mentioned to people before too, talk about, hey, you won't have to be focused on your driving as much, and we can have some great conversation that we've missed out on because I've been busy, you've been busy, but now this will be our special time when it's time to go to the beauty shop or to the doctor or wherever, the errands that need to be ran and all. And another good thing is if you like you said, you get grandchildren involved.
Exactly.
That will make it easier too.
Yes.
And
what a wonderful experience for both of them.
absolutely.
Yeah, really get to know your grandparents. And
It's, but and when you have this conversation too, you mentioned that in your literature about sometimes you need to really explain all the risks involved, and we mentioned about your safety, other people on the road, their safety.
Right.
And are there any other risks that you try to remind them of?
well, as we age, we have harder time turning our neck.
Yes.
So to check the mirrors and check what's behind us, that's more difficult to do.
Right.
Hearing can be an issue if you're not hearing
Okay.
the ambulance or people beeping at you.
Right.
Vision is a very serious problem
That's
for
right.
so many people.
It weakens.
It weakens.
Yes.
And of course, there's medication you should consider. Some medication can make you lightheaded or dizzy.
Good point.
There's just so many things to consider.
Right.
But I think again, I just want to reiterate that your senior adult is not a child. You do not
right.
you don't need to make this decision for them.
Right.
Help them make the decision. And if you do it early enough, Jim, as you know,
Right.
with the preparation, you can start putting limitations so that they know, okay, you know what, I can drive to and from the places I'm really comfortable in my neighborhood, but now when the doctor needs me to go across town, and I'm not used to driving on the interstate or across town, she or he can call RSVP, provide a ride, and get that medical ride for free.
Right.
And not put yourself in that stressful situation.
Right.
And then as your family recognizes, maybe you never have to give up your keys. What a blessing.
Yes.
But for seniors to recognize that we recognize you're grieving. It's a loss. It's a loss, and it's difficult.
Right.
But for your safety and other people's safety, it's something that seriously has to be considered. And if you can do it within the family, that works out best. Outside family, I mean, I'm talking family, church family,
Sure.
friend family, family. Sometimes our loved ones become very, very stubborn, and they just put their fist down and say, no way. And you may have to get the doctor involved.
Yes.
And who better to talk to him about driving and safety, and then you can go and have a driving test.
The medications.
The medications.
And which ones,
Exactly, it could be affecting
impact
that.
Yes.
And someone you trust, it may be your minister,
That's right.
but again, if you see that your loved one's becoming angered or agitated or frustrated with your comment, end it. This isn't a one-time conversation.
That's
Just
right.
say, you know what, that's enough for today.
Yep. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And one thing too that we need to always keep in mind, and it faces all of us. I mean, every year you have that birthday, this can start impacting your life too. And that is, as we age, as our bodies mature, our minds may not process as quickly as they did the year before.
You're
and
right.
especially when we get into that baby boomer age and up. And the older we get, with many people, that happens. And if they're not feeding their brain and keeping their brain active,
Right.
just like their body's active, you exercise your brain, you exercise your body. And if you'll keep doing that, then you're going to have a more enjoyable time in the older years.
Absolutely.
And we try to stress that all the time, but
Matter of fact, if I can interject this, Jim,
Yes.
my husband is a 4th grade teacher,
Uh-huh.
and they call math cotton candy for the brain. That is the best thing you can do. I told him the other day I was counting seeds because I make jelly, so I'm counting these seeds to plant some trees. And I counted about 300, and he said, how did you know 300? Because every 20, I would stop, and I said, it drives me crazy, my brain just won't stop. He goes, no, that's cotton candy for your brain. Your brain loves to count and do math things.
Right.
So if you're trying to strengthen your brain, do some math problems. Count while you're doing things.
Well, and I think sometimes I was calling bingo the other night at Wellington Park, and I was thinking, you know what, this is a good brain motivator.
Yeah.
And now residents everywhere in every senior living type community love bingo, and don't make noise, don't talk, this is serious time. But it's like, well, sometimes they get quarters when they win and different things, and we always have prizes for when they win. And so a lot of people, they come to get the prizes, but not realizing that we're also providing some brain food.
Exactly.
And some brain energy, you know, because they're having to think, they're having to watch, you know, B7 and
Right.
all of that. So
Right.
yeah, it's those are all very important things. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is you may have to present some alternate or some alternative driving situation, and that's why we have RSVP here too, because they have the best program in Oklahoma for that. And it's called the PAR program, and I think I joked about it last time we talked about it a few months ago about, yeah, you'll have to play a better golf game. Yeah. So all you people out there that play golf, you know, this is it. You need to get involved with the PAR program, but that stands for Provide a Ride.
That is correct.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, we've had this program for 26 years. We're very fortunate to have funding through United Way of Central Oklahoma, an area-wide agent agency, to make this happen. We have retired volunteers who use their own vehicles to provide one-on-one, arm-through-arm medical transportation for seniors who are no longer able to drive, or seniors that aren't able to drive that distance to this doctor.
Right.
So it's not just for those that can't drive at all, but those that can't drive to a medical appointment.
Certain places.
Right.
And here, you know, now I hope I have the latest stats correct, but you currently have 683 clients that you assist with driving, and there's 55 volunteers. And all of the volunteers have to go through a screening process for, what do you call it?
Yeah. Criminal background check.
Background checks.
A motor vehicle background check.
Motor vehicle, and to make sure they have safe driving records and all that. So it's a very safe option, and it's free.
And it's free. For those seniors that are on an income of $32,000 or less a year.
Right.
That we can provide this. And it's companionship. It's not just the ride. Our volunteer driver, male or female, will pick you up at home, bring you to the doctor, stay the whole time at the doctor appointment with you. You come out of your appointment, there's your driver waiting for you.
Right.
You swing by the pharmacy, maybe the grocery store, you go back home, you're safe and sound. So you've just developed a new friend too, because they're kind of your age, within 20 years.
Sure.
You know?
Right.
And so they have a lot in common. And if you need help filling out your medical forms when you get there, they help with that. They're your extra set of ears. It's just phenomenal. So not only do you get the free ride, but you get companionship and compassion. Our volunteer drivers are very passionate about what they do.
You know, you mentioned something to me during the break that you had, this is sad, 17 people that did not get to share their rides because you don't have enough volunteer drivers.
That is correct. Yeah, we provide 500 rides a month, our 55 volunteer drivers. We're looking for 25 new volunteer drivers, but it takes one at a time to recruit drivers. So we're hoping in your audience there will be some that say, you know what, I can do this once a week. I can do this twice a month. You're a volunteer, you get to pick your schedule. And then we pay the mileage. We pay 42 cents a mile for you to provide that service, taking away that expense, that gasoline expense. And then of course we have supplemental insurance on you in case somebody's hurt.
Sure, sure. Well, and here's the thing. So here's my petition. I always petition our viewers, but for those of you that can do this and volunteer, you need to do it. For those, and that's to become a part of the Provide a Ride program. Now, for you golfers out there, PAR stands for you need help with your golf game, and you could provide a ride before your game. You could provide a ride for after your game, and you will probably play a better game.
You will.
Your score will be much better.
You know, when you volunteer, we talked about this last time, there's something called the helper's high. You just feel better.
That's right.
Your inside and your outside feels better. Your whole body, it works better when you feel good, and your endorphins go crazy when you volunteer and help others, and when you golf. So, let's see if we get some calls for that. And we've got information on the screen for you to contact Beth, for you to contact RSVP and join in on the PAR program. If you want to talk to Beth more about this sensitive conversation, you can talk to her about that. You can contact us at Baby Boomers in Action. We're always here to help. Now, we're also going to put on the screen several other pieces of information
Tell us about some of those that we're going to show.
Okay, some of the resources available are going to be something that you can read in print and educate yourself before you have this discussion with your loved one. Other resources are the resources in our community. There's Independent Transportation Network.
Okay.
There is a fee associated with that, and it's not just medical appointments,
Right.
but you have to be 60 and older. And then there's Embark. Now, Embark is the old Metro Transit, and they have several services for older adults.
They do.
Special
Correct.
transportation, bus services. There's a program called Send a Ride in our town that you have to pay for also. Okay. But again, it is not limited just to medical rides. So there are resources. If seniors have financial resources to pay, there's also Uber, that type of thing. Those resources are available. And I would like to share, Jim, that one of the best resources in town is Area-Wide Aging Agency's Senior Connection Hotline.
Okay.
Instead of remembering all these numbers, you can call one number and they will share with you all the resources very patiently. So you can write them down and make notes. And I don't have that number with me.
That's okay. We will get that. We'll
Okay.
put it on the screen for our viewers, and
Okay.
and also don't worry about that. We can cover that. So any last words you'd like to share with us?
Well, I didn't continue on the 17 clients that we were not able to serve last week. There was a time where we didn't have any clients on our waiting list.
Right.
In the last 2 years now, it's increased, and there's up to 17 older seniors living in their homes, struggling to remain independent, who don't drive, who are not going to their doctor's appointment because we need volunteer drivers to provide that service.
Okay. Well, I said that was sad a while ago. This makes it even sadder.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, you hear, you need to call, you need to give RSVP some help. But more importantly, you're not helping RSVP as much as you are some individuals that live in our community that need some assistance with a ride to keep them safe.
Absolutely.
And like you say, you're going to get the helper high for doing that.
Yes, you are.
And it's legal. So you might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure somebody's going to say something that I said that, but okay, whatever. They know me. Beth, thank you so much for being with us
Jim.
today as usual. And we want to thank you for joining us today at Baby Boomers in Action. I want to mention that we need your viewer questions to keep coming so that we can make sure we're covering all the different things that are important to you, that's important to your families, that's your loved ones, and whatever your situation is, we want you to contact us so that we can keep bringing you some quality programs.